Hello and welcome to Stevon University. This week we will be discussing Crack the Whip. Did it in a slightly different inflection there, Chris. Don't think I liked it.
Yeah, it's weird.
Didn't work.
Can I give a pre-warning?
Sure.
Cool. Just a pre-warning. I'm going to give this on Nothing But Static as well. For some reason, our signal recently hasn't been great. And right now in Britain, it's snowing and the country can't handle it. So there may be a moment where one of us is saying something in this week's podcast and the other one goes, hold on, I'll just get them back. And we phone each other again. So, yeah.
Yeah, because for those who don't know, who don't listen to this regularly, we're not in the same room when we record this. We both have a mic set up that's recording our individual voices, and then the way we hear each other to be able to respond is through a phone call that we're on headsets for. So that's how we do it. So there you go. Magic. The magic of podcasting, Chris.
The magic of podcasting.
Didn't require a song. What was it about?
It's because, you know what, I'm banned from singing at work. I get shot with those guns.
Nerf gun?
Nerf guns.
No.
That's it.
I love that they've gone to the trouble of, because Nerf guns, not being funny, but Nerf guns ain't cheap. They're a pretty expensive toy. The bullets are pretty cheap, but the guns themselves tend to be very overpriced. So the fact they've spent the money on the Nerf guns to stop you from singing means you sing way too much.
Yeah, one guy invested in a fancier gun because he kept missing me with his cheaper gun.
Oh my god, that's amazing. So now you're just going to be taking advantage on all the podcasts. I'm going to be like, Chris, what was it about? And you'd be like, Pearl and Garnet, leave the room and leave Amethyst in charge. This will be like what's the word? This will be like that episode of Buffy, Once More with Feeling, where like everything just turns song for no reason.
If Stevon Universe itself can just randomly burst into song, I don't see why I shouldn't be allowed to.
Oh no, Chris has made a good point. And I don't
Here's
know what
a
to do. Yeah, anyway.
Pearl and
so
Garnet, leave the room.
Yeah, I was just waiting for that. Go on.
Pearl and Garnet, leave the room and leave Amethyst in charge. Amethyst is excited, but then she gets bored while Stevon and Connie practice their fighting. Not only can Stevon produce a shield, he can now produce multiple ones. When did that happen? So he's producing all the shields, and Connie's fighting back, but Amethyst don't give a crap, she ain't watching. They're like, hey, Amethyst, stop watching. She starts watching with her creepy eye feet. Doo-doo, doo-doo, doo-doo. They keep practicing, they're having a ball. Suddenly, I'm not going to try and rhyme at all. Suddenly, so they, what's the real, nudge the mic? We're good.
I lightly played the ukulele into the last few bits of that.
Oh, nice.
And then you stopped. As I started getting going, I was a bit disappointed.
Well, you know how the ukulele kills all moods.
Yeah, that's what my girlfriend keeps telling me.
Yeah,
it's the least sexy of the instruments, I'm told.
Yeah. It's also really small. It does you no favours.
Mate, I do me no favours. The ukulele doesn't. It's not relevant.
I was talking about your penis, not your belly. This is taking a weird.
So was I.
A weird turn.
We were talking about the same thing.
You haven't got a belly, and I'm sure your penis is huge. So I can't remember.
Right. I've never ever wanted more to be able to name the episodes, because I'm sure your penis is huge would be the best title for an episode of this podcast.
So anyway, I can't remember. I can't. Oh, the stomach's grumbling, so they decide to go get some food. So they go and get some donuts. Like Amethyst plays a pretty cruel trick on Sadie by turning into Lars and taking the mick. So she steals all the donuts, and then they just start having general fun time, Amethyst babysitting fun time. Not babysitting, that's not fair, but you know, Amethyst looking after them fun time. There's a montage of that. They're doing various things. They end up going in the water, going in the beach, when all of a sudden the two creatures from last time, well, one of the creatures from last time appears, as does the second, and Jasper. Jasper and Amethyst fight while Stevon and Connie take on the creature. Stevon and Connie are fighting the creature. Jasper begins to taunt Amethyst about how she should be bigger, she should be a quartz soldier, I think is correct. I might be wrong with my pronunciation. I apologise. This begins to affect Amethyst, and in quite a shocking moment, Jasper poofs her and turns her into just her gem. So Stephen and Connie race over. Lion takes on the monster and pretty quickly, defeats him. Really could have stepped up sooner, in my opinion. Lion, if you had it, then you could have had it earlier.
Yeah, but like a legitimate cat, he just does what the fuck he wants. He has no interest in your agenda. At the moment it's snowing outside. My cat wants to go outside, but he doesn't want to deal with the snow. So I'll open the door, he'll look out, and then meow at me like I can make it go away. Meow. I'm like, no, I can't help you. Meow. No, I go out or stay in. So he stays in. I shut the door. Meow. Like 30 seconds later, the snow might have gone. So I'll open the door again. No, he doesn't want to go out. Meow. Like, fuck off, cat. Like you're a nightmare sometimes. So
Dan explaining why you can hear meowing in the background.
There shouldn't be meowing this week. I hope. But legitimately, cats don't do whatever. They do what they want. And if you need their help, they might not. They don't care.
Yeah, that's fair. So Stephen and Connie morph into Stevonnie, and in quite a awesome fist-raising moment, defeat Jasper and make her retreat as Amethyst reappears in some funky new getup. And Stephen and Connie celebrate the win, and they go off saying they're going to tell the others and stuff. And Amethyst, fresh from being taunted by Jasper, says, "Oh, so you don't need me at all then?" Looking upset.
Yeah, it's a great one in my opinion, because it's interesting. Because if you'd have told me as a summary that in this episode Stephen, Connie, and Amethyst are out and they get attacked by Jasper, and that's the basic premise, I'd go, "You kidding me? Isn't that just last week's episode again? We did this, didn't we? But it was Pearl. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, what's the point?" But I legitimately think they earn this being its own episode through the Amethyst stuff. It's done so well. You get such a sense of her self-doubt and what's amazing is it really ties in to her existing story. Amethyst has the most interesting story of the three key gems, because I think the other gems, their stories are sort of in the past, if that makes sense. Garnet had to learn to accept what she sort of is in society, and like how the gem world would deal with her. And in the end, she found Rose and Earth, and that accepted her. And that was her sort of arc. And now she's this symbol of sort of love, as it were, in a person, and that's kind of amazing. But that plot is she has dealt with that. And then you look at Pearl and Rose, and that's a thing that was very much in the past, and that's the key to Pearl's sort of character. Or the thing that she has to deal with most is this unrequited love almost, but that person is now gone, so it'll never be requited. So it's again just about her dealing with an existing thing. Amethyst has the most active plot of the three key gems, because it's playing out in front of us as narratives go, as character arcs go, and I think that makes her one of the more interesting examples. She's got a Napoleon complex, because she is smaller than she should be. She's her rambunctiousness has gotten her sometimes benched occasionally. She doesn't get necessarily treated like the adult like she wants to be, I think, deep down. And I think on top of that, then what she relies on is her fighting, and even that she doesn't train, she just sort of goes with the flow. And between that and her not being maybe as strong as she could have been had she not come out early, as Jasper puts it in this episode, it's just more fuel for the fire. And when she thought she would be the one there to protect Stephen and Connie, and they didn't really need her, you've got to imagine what kind of a bee that puts in her bonnet going forward. It's like a really good, what it is? It's like a really good setup episode for an arc. I can't, you at this point you can't wait to see play out. You're going like, yes, more of that, please, because it's such a powerful. You really feel where Amethyst's frustration. She wants to be strong. She wants to be valuable, because she doesn't see that she's part of that family regardless. Like, that's how she judges her own value. And for me, that's why that elevates this episode way beyond the simple premise of it's Jasper returns and now it's Amethyst helping the two Connie and Stephen fight the two monsters, because otherwise, like I said, boiled down, this episode could seem like a clone or a cheap copy of the previous one. But I think they do something much more interesting and much different here.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think that, and by the way, for anyone yelling it into their headphones, obviously you weren't including Stephen in the phrase main gems, because his story's very much, in the present.
Oh, of course, yeah. Sorry, yeah, because with him being half human, half gem, I don't always. When I talk about the gems, I mean the initial 3 gems, gems. Sorry, yeah, you're right. Thank you for clarifying, because you're right. That's in the comments. I love it. Whenever I make a mistake, it's amazing because you get to watch, like, because I usually I catch it a little bit later. Like, I remember one time I had open a list of cast and crew, and I quickly glanced at it to jog my memory of Shelby Rabara's name, who voices Peridot, to give her some credit. And I accidentally saw the name of, like, the storyboarder for the episode, which is Lauren Zook. And I said the name just quickly, and then like 2 or 3 minutes later, I go, wait, sorry, I just realized what I've done. I said the wrong name. Sorry, Shelby Rabara, obviously. Just a weird slip of the tongue because I glanced over the wrong thing. And the amount of comments I got that were, she doesn't voice, that's not the voice actress for Peridot, that's not the voice actress for Peridot, that's not the voice actress for Peridot. And then about 50-60% of them were then going, oh, it's okay, you corrected it, which I love, because that means about 40% of them went, he got the name wrong, click, and deleted the video. I just closed the window.
I'm not watching anymore.
No, he doesn't know what he's talking about, which I love that idea even more. Anyway, sorry, carry on. What were you saying?
I agree with you. I think at first, I'll be honest, controversial. At first, when the episode ends, I was like, oh, I like that Amethyst stuff a lot. But is this the beginning of like of an arc on this, and Amethyst needs to find her place? And I was kind of a bit like, well, I know how that ends. She probably finds her place. And then I remembered that I could have predicted that Pearl and Garnet would make up at the end of these sardonyx. Yeah, sardonic. At the end of the sardonic bomb. Mm-hmm. But actually, oh, I said that wrong. Was that not?
No, I agree.
Right?
Yeah, I agreed.
But watching it all play out so beautifully, and like I couldn't have predicted we'd end up with a Ruby and Sapphire episode, and that Keystone Motel is such a brilliant episode.
Yes, it is.
I couldn't have necessarily predicted that. So actually, I was like, you know what, forget that. I got enough faith in these writers that they're going to pull something out, and it's going to be awesome. And the rest of it was fun, Again, not laugh out loud. I did really enjoy Sour Cream just sitting in the background and then running away. I don't know why. I think that's because it was just such a background gag. And I just loved that they had the balls to be subtle, because other shows would have had something much bigger with that gag. But the gag was simply he was sat there sunbathing. And then that got ruined.
Yeah, it's because they know that instinctively it's just funny to see the normal people of this town get dragged. Because when you get a Sour Cream episode, it's usually not that gem stuff heavy, right? So the idea of showing Sour Cream and then the gem stuff just comes crashing into his life in such an extreme way. This monster rises out of the sea and he just runs away. That in itself is enough, and I think the writers know that, which is good.
Yeah, absolutely. So all very entertaining. The moment I had my mouth agasp when Jasper crushes Amethyst, I thought that was an insane moment. And then the triumph of Stephen and Connie forming Stevonnie in that moment to fight Jasper and winning, and then capped off with that beautifully humorous line where Stephen says what we're all thinking, where he just goes, I guess she lives in the sea now. Like, it's just...
I forgot about that. By the way, can I just say that the benefit of this show being storyboarded by the people writing it, like, it's not written as a script and then storyboarded. They're writing it with the storyboards. It's all being created by one person. The storyboard artist is writing the dialogue and the story and the structure and all that stuff. So a gag that would not exist in a world where you script it first is first showing that shot of Jasper just menacingly going, like, her eyes just going under the water level. She sort of sinks back in because that shot is so weirdly ominous, but also just like, what, you just live in the water now? Without that shot, that joke does not land half as well, I think.
I said there wasn't a lot of it wasn't necessarily hysterical, but actually I'm remembering that wrong in a way, because there were some really cracking moments of dialogue and animation.
Yeah.
I really love when the monster thing first appears, and Stephen and Connie are like, "Oh," and like Stephen just bubbles them. Like, that's really effective. There's also beautiful animation when Amethyst is falling down to face Jasper and fight him. And it's like the Spider-Man.
You do that a lot. I don't know if we should address
thing.
it.
Yeah,
you call Jasper a him a lot.
I don't know why. Yeah, sorry. Yeah.
I mean, I know that in one of the videos that at some point I will show you, maybe as a bonus, there's a video called. So this is basically this is Steven Universe or something like that, and it refers to Jasper as Hulk Hogan, which is quite a funny gag. But I always find it interesting that you say him and then correct.
I think it's, you know what, I think, and I do try and correct myself wherever possible. I think it's as simple as I know someone called Jasper, and I just in my mind it's a male name, maybe, I don't know. Like so I completely apologize. I keep.
I suppose thinking of the name in the sort of more human sense rather than the gem sense. You're right. Jasper is sort of the name you give to usually it's an elderly gentleman called Jasper, isn't it? It's never a young man, is it? but you're right.
Yeah,
it is a male name. That's true.
I know a Jasper, so that's all that is.
Well, I'm glad I gave you. I'm glad I gave you the option to explain that, Chris, because I suspect maybe some people in the comments are going, "He just gets all the names wrong." That one you have a legitimate reason for. Yeah, I mean, there's no excuse for Laphis, but we'll.
Hey, I think we're all enjoying the cute blue one.
Yep.
Even though I keep nearly saying cute blonde one.
Anyway, you see, you can't even get that right. In terms of jokes, I agree. I loved when Amethyst turns into Lars and is like, "Hey, donut girl, it's me."
Yeah.
Donut boy. That's like one of my absolute favourites. Also, do you remember, and you might not remember this, Chris, but do you remember the very, very first episode? They buy the last cookie cats for Steven. Mm-hmm. And Amethyst basically hints that she we've lost the call. Chris was right.
We might be having signal problems, people. This. Well done.
He predicted this. You predicted that, didn't you? Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think you made that happen by suggesting it would. I think that's what that was. Anyway.
I don't think that's fair to blame me for the snow.
It's true. And the crappy signal we get on our phone sometimes. So yeah, in one of the very first episodes, like they buy Steven the Cookie Cats, and Amethyst is like, "We stole them," and Pearl's like, "Yeah," and then I went back and paid for them. Like, and what I love here is, I don't know if that's an intentional reference to that, but I love that's essentially what happens here. Amethyst goes in, badly steals stuff, and then Steven ends up just paying.
Yeah, but for me, the joke there was also that Stephen and Connie clearly didn't have enough money to cover the amount of donuts she took.
Yes, that's so
like they're just emptying their pockets and giving them all the cash. They're giving Connie or Sadie all the cash they can, and it's clearly not enough.
Yeah,
I think in general the animation in this episode is beautiful. I think the fight scene is spectacular.
Such a nice idea to set it on the beach.
Really good. Yeah.
Because despite the fact the beaches there are a lot, and we have seen a lot of stuff happen and play out on that beach. I think a full-on like one-on-one with a baddie hasn't. I think a monster maybe. I think they fought a monster on that beach. I don't think they've ever actually fought one of the like homeworld gems there.
Well, but in a way, I don't think it's just the. I agree with you, but I don't think it's just the beach. I think it's also we've not seen if all the gems had been there, probably wouldn't have been as interesting. We've not seen just Amethyst, with then Stephen and Connie fight someone.
Yeah, no, I would agree with that, and I think it's really interesting to manifest Amethyst's own feelings of inadequacy through Jasper. Like, what clever writing to go. We have Jasper, which, by the way, for those who don't remember, we talked about it in the past, and it's probably something that most people listening know anyway. But an amethyst quartz or an amethyst gem in real life gems, if I'm not mistaken, and please correct me if I am wrong, if irradiated for longer, becomes a actual real life Jasper gem, and that's why she calls amethyst undercooked and runt, because amethyst should be a lot bigger and stronger by gem standards than she is. But it's a complex that Amethyst has clearly had for a long time. And you can tell by even like the styling of the hair and stuff that Jasper is basically a bigger, stronger version of Amethyst. So making...
Yeah, although to be fair, I hadn't noticed that until this episode. And then I was like, oh yeah.
Oh, right.
Like,
okay.
I hadn't. I think we've talked about that idea, but I hadn't noticed just how close visually they'd made
even the
Jasper
movesets,
to
you
Amethyst.
might have noticed, like Jasper can do that spin dash attack that Amethyst usually does.
Yes, I noticed that in this episode.
Yeah, so so there's a lot of parallels, and there's this great moment when, for whatever reason, I think Amethyst gets knocked into the air, and she's coming back down, head first, and their eyes meet as she's coming back to the ground, and their heads are like lined up but upside down. That's a really
that's
cool
what I was
shot.
referring to earlier with the. I think I referred to it as the Spider-Man kiss shot.
Oh, okay, that might have been. Yeah, okay, yeah, I understand now. I might have misunderstood or misheard. So I think like. It writing wise, it's just so clever to manifest Amethyst's own inadequacies as Jasper because of of what Jasper represents beyond simply being a villain. That's just such good writing. It's like you can have a villain and the villain wants to do bad things, hurt people, whatever. That's fine, that functions. But to then make that villain representative of an emotional struggle the character is going through as well, I mean, that's like, slow clap. Like, that's just so perfect on so many levels. And that's why this episode stands out to me, even more so than last week's.
I never know whether slow claps are meant to be sarcastic or not, is my only
I think they're used
clapping.
in both ways, Chris.
Yeah.
I think sometimes when you're genuinely blown away, but I think
that would work better if people could see your face.
I think that got adapted at some point by people being sarcastic, which is a shame.
Yeah, no, I agree. What other notes you got? Great, I just got compliments really.
Yeah, no, we could just literally compliment it all day. Let's have a quick scan. Obviously, the Ferris wheel is the Ferris wheel from Greg the Babysitter that you can see that they go on. Obviously, Amethyst shouting Bunga Kawa, which is obviously Cowabunga, but switched round. She's done that before, apparently. I don't recall. The song that Sadie is humming when they enter the Big Donut is the jingle for Pepe's Burgers, which is the song that Greg wrote that made him all that money.
Oh, really? I hadn't noticed that. I liked the notion of her singing and getting embarrassed when they walked in. I thought that was a subtle callback to to Sadie's song. I believe that episode was called. I enjoyed that.
Yeah, I would agree. Amethyst obviously has a redesign when she comes out of being poofed, which we've covered why that happens and stuff in the past. But the major difference is her shirt color is completely different now. It's white and it's got a jaggedy, ripped sort of edge. Her trousers, I guess you'd call them. Her, I don't know, leggings, joggings, bottoms, whatever you want to call them. Like we can't use. I don't want you to use the word pants because in the States and the UK that's got different meanings. But yeah, instead of I think it was grey with a black star, they're now black with a grey star.
It's nice.
Which is a nice little switch around. So there's a few little subtle differences.
I think her hair was slightly different as well.
Yeah, the hair was different. I think it covers more of her face now. It's hard to exactly pinpoint it, but yeah, I think there's been some really neat sort of subtle changes. I think her shoes are a different color. They used to be white. Now they're grey to match the stars on her knees, I think. So there's a few little changes. What I thought was really cool as well is, of course, the last time we saw Amethyst poof, she poofed many, many times, if you remember, in that episode, and went through many different forms. Some of them ridiculous because she was trying to make a point about how she'd do it in her own time, in her own Amethyst way. And you may have noticed that when she reforms this time, she very quickly flicks through a bunch of those insane shapes before she lands on the current one. Which is consistent with the show because they've always shown the previous forms. But I also thought that was just neat as a little nod to a previous episode. There's a weird one I want to talk to you about here, Chris, because I would love to get your opinion on this. It was noticed by fans leading up to and including this episode that you never ever see Amethyst bubble a gem. She's never done it. It's always been Garnet, Pearl, or Steven. And in this one, even when she poofs the big monster, she picks up the gem, throws it down. Steven then picks it up and bubbles it and sends it away.
Yeah, I did notice that. I did notice Steven doing that. I don't know whether the implication is that she can't.
Although for some reason she doesn't want to. Yeah, that's been an interesting. It's been a source of discussion. It's very much a common discussion as well. And around this time as well, the other thing that kept coming up was Pearl's unwillingness to shapeshift.
Yeah.
It seems to be that Pearl doesn't particularly either want to or can't shapeshift, and it seems that Amethyst doesn't seem to want to or can't bubble. And it's interesting because either way is interesting plot wise.
I assume Pearl can't. Hasn't it been revealed that Pearl can't? Is that just me? I feel like that was referenced in an episode or hinted at. I might be wrong. With Pearl,
if it was, I don't remember.
I assume Pearl can't because, I mean, you could do either. I could come up with a thing for either. Either she doesn't want to because that was the form that she was in when, she was with Rose and stuff. Or she can't because I feel like Pearl does everything. Pearl likes to be a perfectionist. So if she could, surely she would to perfect it and to, all of that sort of stuff.
Mm. And what do you think to the Amethyst one then?
I would suspect if I was a betting man, she can't. She's never been able to, and I would suspect if I was a betting man that if they're going to do an Amethyst feels insecure thread, that will come up again shortly. If they're going to do that, then I was sure at the end of this that's what they were going to do. It would be a thread. And then you pointed out how well it linked to her overall story, and I was like, oh, well, maybe this is just, in the background. Yeah. But I think they end very deliberately on it, and this episode following on so smoothly from the last episode implies they're going to ramp up and link the last few as we build to the finale.
Yeah, I would say that's a pretty clear implication, and I would say as well that you're right in that it has been sort of an overall thing of Amethysts, but I think when you link the villain that's the problem right now to a story like that, then you make that story a bigger deal because they have to continue to face the villain. Therefore, that's going to pull that story to the forefront. Yeah,
that's fair.
Yeah, I genuinely thought this is a spectacular one. Though, let's see if I've got any other quick notes.
It's a brilliant episode. Very entertaining, deep. It's good stuff.
Did you like seeing Steven use his floating powers?
Yeah, I thought that was cool.
Actually, you mentioned about the shields. That bothered you? That you could summon multiple shields?
It didn't bother me. I was just like, he can do multiple shields now, can he? Okay, cool.
Yeah, well, it feels like they've been doing a lot of training. I mean, we knew that Pearl can summon multiple spear things, and Amethyst can summon multiple whips. So it's in continuity that's possible.
That makes sense. Yeah. I think I'm just so grateful for, Uncle Grandpa to have taught him how to use his shield.
It's canon, baby.
Stupid episode that was.
You know what? There is nothing more perfect, though, than the story you tell in that episode about shushing the woman you love because you think Rose is about to show up and talk to Steven.
Yeah.
It's my favourite.
Jeez.
So good. And what did you think about Jasper's kind of, in my opinion, lame plan to just gather other gems to fight the crystal gems? Shit plan.
Yeah,
those corrupted gems aren't doing anything.
Yeah, especially when there's me last episode being like, oh, maybe he's gonna fuse with them and all of that kind of stuff. And I still think his fusion. I would have got away with it too if it weren't for that pesky fusion. That moment sort of implies maybe he will.
I think the exact quote is, "It's always fusion."
Yeah, I mean, basically, it's a Scooby-Doo line.
But yeah, when you think about it, this will be the third time Jasper has been beaten by a fusion. Obviously in Jailbreak by Garnet, Alexandrite in Super Watermelon Island, and now, of course, Stevonnie.
I'd love it if in that moment the cute blue one appeared. It was just like, sometimes it's a hand of water slapping you, isn't it? But
because of course last week as well, 2 weeks ago, sorry, blasted away by Lapis. I think Lapis is a weird situation now because I just think they make her seem so powerful. I don't know how you get around that going forward in the game. For clarification, in the game Save the Light, there are lots of playable characters, including the main gems, Peridot, Steven, Connie, and even Greg. And there's a bit where they go to the barn. They're like, Lapis, do you want to come help us with this? She's like, nah, I'm good. And I said it in my commentary thing. It's just that, like, yeah, you can't have Lapis in this. She's too powerful. She can summon the entire ocean and flood the planet or whatever. Like,
she's often not there.
Yeah.
Anyway. We've not had that Avengers moment of all of the 5/6 gems that we now have. 7 if you count Steven. Fighting.
It would be cool, wouldn't it, to see Stevonnie, Lapis, Peridot, and then Amethyst, Garnet, and Pearl all lined up, ready to fight. That'd be cool. I'd be up for that.
Yeah, I think going back to the I hope she still does. I was making the point as you were talking as well, and I kept like saying she, and you kept like extending your point, and in my head I was like, it's okay, I've like she people, and now I fucked up and said he. She hopefully will go do something. No, it's all right. She will hopefully go do something fusion related, because just collecting them. How'd she convince them to? Yeah, that was a bit. I'm building an army. No, you're not.
Also, an army of like inanimate, like not inanimate, like what do you call it? Like creatures that just are not going to do what you want them to ever. Like I really don't know. Like they're not. Yeah, they're not going to bend to your will. It's just not how these things work.
Yeah, it's really weird.
Yeah. So anyway, I think that's pretty much everything. I was skimming down the notes on the thing. Can I mention something very quickly that we... Oh man, it was something we missed and the last one, and I've forgotten what it was. Oh, that's really annoying. Oh no, it wasn't in the last one. So apparently, it's not in the wiki page, but do you recall on Lapis on a boat, Alone at Sea? That's the one. Apparently, you remember how I've mentioned in some of the previous episodes that, like, while the episode aired, the Cartoon Network run Peridot account was tweeting.
Yeah.
Apparently, on the Lapis on a boat episode, Alone at Sea. Alone at Sea. I'm always tempted to call it Alone Together, because that's obviously another episode title from the show.
Oh, right. Yeah.
So I always sidestep it until I can remember exactly which of the two it is. Apparently, that she was tweeting at the time.
It's the one with the C in the title, Dan. It's not that hard, surely. But carry on.
No, but my brain immediately, I hear the word alone, and I'm thinking Steven Universe. I just go Alone Together. It's just like it's default. It's like before I engage my brain, the natural way I go is Alone Together, which is incorrect. Right. I acknowledge. Which is why I always take that little pause to go, wait, which one? C. Yeah, okay, and then say it. Like it's like I work with a lot of very young people, and they keep insisting that they struggle with an old analog clock. It takes them a few more seconds to think about the time when they read off one of those than it does if they look at a digital one, which I was just like, that is so sad. Like I'm 30. Like that's analog clocks is all I started with. Do you know what I mean? Like hands.
Yeah.
Digital clocks were whereas I grew up, became popular. Anywho, different story. In fact, I remember the very first time I got a digital clock being baffled by it. What is this? Anyway,
I think my first watch was digital.
Was it? Oh no, I had a Buzz Lightyear one that was an analog one. Okay. And then it got stolen at school, and the kid who stole it claimed it was his, and the teachers couldn't prove either way, and he had to keep it. I was so upset. What a dick. Flashbacks. Apparently, yeah, so Peridot was apparently tweeting, and the tweets were apparently really sweet. It was talking about Lapis coming home and her like comforting her and stuff, and apparently it was really sweet and very nice. So if you're interested in that sort of thing, obviously you can head to that Twitter page. I'm sure those tweets are still up. I thought that was interesting though, a nice way to sort of extend the story through. There's a couple of times they've done that, isn't there, with Peridot, where they've had her tweet alongside an episode she's not a part of, and it sort of gives you an insight into what she was up to at the time. And as far as I'm concerned, that stuff's canon, because I really like that.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Unless they write anything really shit. If they wrote something really bad, like that was out of character or wrong, I'd be just like, yeah, those aren't canon anymore. I would immediately decanonize them.
I think more big franchises should do it. So, like Star Wars, you should have like bit characters tweeting like, "Heard what happened to Snoke? WTF?" sake.
There's an R2D2 Twitter account, and every time a new movie comes out, he just tweets beep 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 blorp.
Yeah. They just keep doing it.
Amazing. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it then. Unless you've got something else to add yourself, Chris.
No. I'm all done.
No. Oh, also, actually, one last thing I want to point out is I love that they were using the glow sticks, the glow stick hoop ring things.
Yeah. Wait, say that again.
Wow.
Do you mean the fact? No, do you mean the fact that he's wearing? I noticed him wearing glow sticks, but I didn't notice him using them.
Oh yeah, wearing, but like I just like that because that feels like an intentional reference to how Stephen and Connie originally met.
Right, yeah, with you.
Because obviously he found hers and then was returning it to her.
Yeah, he returned it. Yeah,
and I think that's just really sweet. Oh, also,
sorry, I was thrown by the word using. Sorry.
Yeah, that's my bad. I the word wearing escaped me. I'm not. Apparently, my ability to speak in English today is gone. And what's really worrying is this is the one of 2 podcasts we're recording in the next hour. Anyway, the last thing I wanted to very quickly mention actually was it's also the first time we've seen Stevonnie. This one I did forget to say. The first time we've seen Stevonnie use both the sword and shield simultaneously as Rose would have done, and I just thought that was really badass.
Oh yeah, that's cool.
No.
Cool.
Yeah, there you go. That's everything. Next one is called. I'm not going to tease you about this one, Chris, because the title will be more than enough.
Okay.
Right. The next one is called Stephen versus Amethyst.
Ooh. Told you that Amethyst plot wasn't going anywhere.
Yeah, you weren't wrong.
Okay. Well, that is exciting.
No, I think this is I actually, through coincidence, saw a clip from this one about a week ago because I was just flicking through YouTube and there was a clip that came up and I was like, I don't quite remember this, and I watched it. I was like, I can't wait to get back to that episode. So it's I'm excited. It'd be nice to see the full thing.
Awesome.
Cool. So that's everything for this week. I've been Dan Doolan.
I've been Chris Billingham,
and we'll speak to you next time as we discuss Stephen versus Amethyst.